Hey, disciples of the internet, it's that time again to forget about the 3-month gap between this and the last Mario Maker 2 video. That's right, it's the 7th and penultimate video of the converting every single level of NSMBU with as much precision as I can physically muster series. And yes, the next video will consist of Peach's Castle and the bonus World 9, Superstar Road. But for now it's Meringue Clouds time, where I yet again have the privilege to use the track tool obsessively on every single level. Also, the last traditional ghost house is here. Rest in peace, my child. Oh, since he's already dead, drown him in holy water. And if you want me to drown more people, only 12.3% of- wait, no, that's a boring statistic. Only 19.3% of my audience is female. Together we can get that to 100%. Happy Pride, by the way. This script was written in June. So subscribe, toll the notification bell. It makes my serotonin go fucking wild. Or give money or join the channel, that's very much appreciated. Land of Flying Blocks. Yeah, we're gonna skip all of the flying blocks. It's purely a cosmetic gimmick that doesn't have any gameplay applications. Also, I need the track space for 3 other things. First, there's the cloud you ride on, 2 blue lifts. Easiest substitution I've ever seen, give me a real challenge. Then some flying rats. Okay, I'll have to trace the paths they take on the platforms for every single one of them on tracks. I use flying Monty Moles for waddle wings, by the way. And then these coins that float to the left in bubbles will need their own tracks. And we already got a nice spaghetti blender of wires. Other than the droplets of mind juice I lost working on charting out all of these objects, this level is fairly boring. But there is a sub area. I put it inside this gaggle of pipes since like 2/3 of the levels in this game is just too long for 2 sub areas. Also, it only relies on the moving blocks gimmick, so it's just a static stretch of bricks. Seesaw shrooms. Oh, seesaws. Yep, I have that tool. I mean, they don't tilt left and right automatically, but they still sway while fixed on a central pivot point, so that's good enough for me. The bastard sea urchins, the fuzzies, are back. However, some of them are stationary, so they'll have to just be giant spinies suspended in the air, except for the speedy ones, those will continue to be blue-winged spike tops. This is also a Yoshi level, but since there's no red coin rings, fruits can now be collected as red coins, with or without Yoshi, of course. There's also a section after the checkpoint with a singular Lakitu, but there are some spinies that are already spawned in by default, and there's 2 that spawn off of a platform. They're hard-coded to die just as soon as they spawn into the world, like baby sea turtles. What else? The extending shrooms are back. That's just a yellow lift. And there's also the simplest sub area in the game. I don't even need to show you what it looks like in Mario Maker 2. That's how simple it is. Switchback Hill. Switchback referring to these platforms that remain stationary until stepped on and go back to their original position when you leap off. Blue lifts can make it so they wait to be jumped on by the player, but they can't be stopped after they're activated. There are also these bullet bill cannons that turn to the other side after firing. From New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Come on, NSMBU, what have you contributed to society? Nab it? Anyways, I just elected to have it face the same way and have it just be made of 2 columns of hard blocks to prevent the player from being shot at from a certain direction. There's also one exception to blue lifts being used for the switchback platforms, and that's this bit where the platform carries a star coin that's dropped via a POW block and you have to follow the platform until the coin falls off. So I used a yellow lift and you just kind of gotta time it. Problem is that coins despawn quite fast when falling onto the ground, including big coins in Mario Maker 2, so there's no real point in doing this. The best option is just to ride the platform back to the coin. This level is also condensed enough that I can just replicate everything, including the ending castle in the second sub area. Absolutely unheard of shit in Mario Maker 2 today. Slide Lift Tower, time to curb stomp Bowser's adoptive father. This is like the 12th or whatever Tower Castle level where the mechanic is big platforms that can crush you in some way. The slide lift platforms circle around each other, so anything more complex than 2 yellow lifts circling around each other is out of the discussion. These things will already be getting desynced. Some nice little background decals fill the void in my soul from having to use lifts for every level in this world. Except for the snake block one, but then I need to measure out the course of the snake block through the footage and not the level layout file, so it might be objectively worse. It's a whole thing. Fire Bros are the main enemy here, and we have a spike for the projectile and a Goombat as their feet so they don't fall off platforms and can be hit from underneath, albeit they need to be hit twice. Those sliding blocks also come in different shapes, but that just implies a different lift width and track shape. Last thing of note before the boss here is this giant fire bar near the end. I'm just using a regular sized fire bar since doing anything with tracks would interfere with everything else. And also, since this level can't fit in the vertical sub area, this fire bar is actually placed near the bottom of the horizontal sub area, so there won't even be enough room to make a circular track shape. I'm just not going to think about it. Moving on to the first boss of this world, and maybe I was too harsh on Boom Boom because at least his fights took like 5 seconds to make. First, the floor situation. If the floor is touched by a magic attack, it will turn into a donut block. However, Kamek in Mario Maker 2 does the Super Mario World thing of turning blocks into various items. So I'll settle for an alternating hard block, donut block pattern with a one-way door above the exit so you can't soft lock it. Kamek destroys the block below the door. Then there's the blocks that spawn in various patterns but eventually disappear. Okay, put 2 different on-off block patterns onto the field paired with a really long shell timer. Also, enemies can appear in these blocks, so I sprinkled in some enemy-filled question mark blocks in there. And finally, Kamek can be hit 3 times, so instead of using a Koopaling because I wanted teleportation, I just spawned in 3 Kameks, and one of them has the key. I'm not going to tell you which one has it, that would be spoilers. Also, this kind of move is something Mario enemies do a lot. I mean, Ludwig does it in this very game, but that's later in this video. I've already spent like a page of script writing on this level. Let me go! Spinning Spirit House. Oh, yep, this looks awful. Editor Jelly, look at this shitload of fuck. Yeah, so there's 12 rooms including the exit and alternate exit rooms, both of which can be included this time. However, 3 of these rooms are the exact same with minimal alterations. So this level revolves around this hub area with 8 areas you can access changing as you progress in the level. So I have to replicate these subtle wall decals every time. Like these 2 images are not the same. Have fun finding the difference. There are also these little cracks in the wall that can randomly spawn when placing ground tiles in the Ghost House theme in Mario Maker 2. Did you know about that? There's a useless tidbit of knowledge for you. Also, at the very start of this level, there's this room with a swarm of boos. The boos space will be shrunk considerably since I had to put it in this vertical sub area. We'll talk about the vertical areas in a bit. Outside the hub, the first room always has this swaying square that floats along a path. Okay, the swaying can be a seesaw and the walls can be bullet bill cannons, however there isn't a ceiling. So just don't jump out, unless you're speedrunning and gunning for a massive time save. Also, the walls will have to leave for this bit where the room goes to the left for a little bit and then down so you can get these coins before progressing. There's also boo rings in this area, but there's only 3 of them, so I have to do this weird shape. The first optional room has a bruiser and a descending lift where you're intended to have him break this wall of hard blocks for a star coin. So I set a giant spike on a Monty Mole since they spawn giant spike balls that have the capability to break down walls. The next area has a few haunted question mark blocks, which means having winged boost to link down on tracks from the ceiling. Optional vertical room number 2 has a tilting platform that ascends while you chase a star coin. My solution is to have a bottom 4 of yellow lifts with seesaws in the place of these indents in the platform. The boo ring rises in tandem with these platforms, by the way. Also, the star coin won't be able to move since that track would conflict with everything else. Okay, the last main room of the normal route. I'm almost done. You descend in the same tilting square from earlier, except there are a lot of those haunted question mark blocks. That is a problem since there's limited track space, so I elect to have the boos wriggle around in these little gaps between the lifts and bullet bill walls. Then go upwards, since if they went downward they would never interact with the player. There's also a single big boo here. The final room of the alternate exit route is boring by comparison, having an extending and retracting boo ring and a little P-switch puzzle to get the final star coin, and we're finally done with these undead imps. Bouncy cloud boomerangs. Clouds, you can jump on him. It's true. Jump on one during your next commercial flight. If I don't hear back from you, I'll assume that notion's still correct. In a perfect world, these would be a yellow lift fitted with springs so enemies and the player could jump on them. This is not a perfect world. Using that many springs fills up the entity limit quite quickly, so bumper platforms are used whenever enemies that can jump on clouds aren't present. What about the boomerang bros? Okay, so that's another excuse to use the rail tool and some winged potaboos. The boomerang bro itself can just be a goon brat. I guess it doesn't really matter. It's also now time to address these non-bouncy clouds. They're intended to block your sight. They can also give coins sometimes, so I set up multiple fields of chains. It doesn't really do anything to the player and you can easily see enemies and coins through them, but repeat after me, it's better than nothing. Sub area time, and all the coins will have to be lowered since the power radius is smaller in Mario Maker 2 than in NSMBU. And you'll have to catch the star coin in midair since coins pass through these bumpers. And one more useless nugget of information, the intended way to get the star coin is to go in this cannon pipe, bounce off this cloud at the right time, and then these 3 blocks will bend on a hinge to let you onto the platform. So I have to put a lift here. Quick dip in the sky. That's what that person who's checking to see if clouds are bouncy is doing right now. They haven't called back yet. This level has these bubbles you can swim in and out of, kind of like the legendary Starfy for Nintendo DS. Bet you weren't expecting a Starfy reference from this video. I'm unpredictable. I might do a Mr. Gimmick reference in the next video. The stationary bubbles are simple. I just use a gaggle of vines, and most of the movable bubbles go in one direction, so I use different sized lifts depending on the shape of the bubble. Let the record show that I tried to do something with claws, but they will also grab enemies like this piranha plant. Some bubbles move in circles, so we'll just have to accept that the bubbles will become flat when going right or left. But this is a vertical level, so all of it can be represented. Wie cool ist das bitte? Snaking above Mist Valley. As mentioned earlier, this is the level with the snake blocks, so I have to chart out the snake path, as well as using multiple snake blocks per sub-area since the length of a snake block path in Mario Maker 2 is limited. This level also has foos that block the player's vision by spewing fog in their face, the most nothing burger Mario enemy that appears in like 3 levels in the entire history of Mario. Go in the Mario Glup Shitto corner. I chart out their little burst of fog and put a Goombrat on a little cloud block since they'll never move. But honestly, considering the length of the level, it is a bit of a break from the absolute hell the next 2 levels will be. Ludwig's Clockwork Castle. More moving blocks, but since you never interact with the bottom of these platforms, all 3 sides can be represented with a lift and 2 bullet bill cannons, and the player can finally be spring locked. The main problem from this level is just charting out all of these separate platforms, but all of the enemies present are ones we're already familiar with from this game. Oh, and Sledge Bros, but we already have those in Mario Maker 2. There's also this fully optional sub area that you can access via these hidden blocks where you have to scramble around to collect money as it rains from the sky. So I have the player hit a P-switch that opens up these coin-spewing pipes on the ceiling. Time to kick Ludwig's ass for the 3rd time in this channel's history. Ludwig likes to fly and spawn 2 clones, and you have to find the real one, you know the deal. So first I give Ludwig wings so he stays in the air for long periods of time, and since having 3 Ludwigs in a single fight would be cruel, I have them on tracks that occasionally dip towards the player so the clones can fire their spread attack at Luigi. Also, I put a wall of one-way doors there, just in case the player managed to get up there, they couldn't knock one of the clones off the chains. Boarding the airship. This is the second and last airship level in the game, but it starts off with a section where this giant robotic Bowser hand tries to squash and crush you. It may seem like the hand tracks the player, but it doesn't. It just attacks the same spaces every time. Even the fake outs are the same every time. So I put skewers everywhere the robotic hand does the flat squish attack. About halfway through it switches to crush the player with a fist attack. For all of the crush locations, I replace all the grass blocks with brick blocks so the ground can be destroyed all in one go. The actual airship section has this seesaw that you can control by tilting the controller. I like to dab the player control when they want to start the seesaw via an on-off block. However, once it starts going, you can't stop it. This airship section also has these burners that rotate on a hinge. While I can't change their angle, I can have them move along a track. Also, before I get into the boss fight, I have to mention that I can't have auto-scroll on any of these sections since that would mess with the boss fight as well as the interlude bits. Bowser Jr. wants to fight us again. It's time to explain to this turtle the definition of a compound fracture. So this fight is probably the most complicated one so far. First, if Junior's in a clown car, then they will just hurtle towards the player. We don't want that, so Junior's blocked by a layer of one-way doors, with a spike block barrier that prevents Junior from leaving, but not the player if they get up there. Second hurdle, Junior throws shells in Mario Maker 2 instead of bombs, so they will have to spew out from the side in red cannons. The floor in this fight can also be destroyed and regenerated, so I made it the same as the Kamek fight, just a bit thicker. Now for Junior's boxing gloves, he can pummel the ground as he flies to the side, so I put yet another winged Podoboo on a track for like the 3rd time in this video. However, another advantage to these guys is that they can light up the bombs to destroy the platform. The second glove attack is where he strikes at the ground and his glove gets stuck. You're supposed to walk up his arm so you can hit him. I constructed yet another Podoboo track, this time in the center and trailed by a group of winged platforms that you can jump on to get up to Bowser Jr.'s level. And finally, because I have the room, I even replicated the scene where Junior accidentally destroys an aircraft that costs more than how many Wii U's were actually sold. And now I get to the classic bit of ranking every level from this world in terms of how close I think the Mario Maker 2 recreation is to the original game. Number 10, Slide Lift Tower. Number 9, Boarding the Airship. Number 8, Spinning Spirit House. Number 7, Land of Flying Blocks. Number 6, Ludwig's Clockwork Castle. Number 5, A Quick Dip in the Sky. Number 4, Bouncy Cloud Boomerangs. Number 3, Snaking Above Mist Valley. Number 2, Switchback Hill. And number 1, Seesaw Shrooms. One more video before I can finally rest, until Nintendo announces Mario Maker 3 or whatever. And also, if you want to play any of these track-infested sky levels, look up the maker ID for my 3rd Nintendo account currently shown on screen. Before the finale, I'll probably make another video on some other game. Editor Jelly, do a super vague spoiler. Thank you. You're welcome, sweetie. And if you want to see more content like this, or just more jelly-soaked sleep paralysis demon fuel, stick around. In membership terms, shout out to Curtis Meeks Blix at the Jelly Council tier.